I'm the Chief Product Officer for Sourcepass, and Chief Product is a potentially loose title, all right, for what I do, but my primary responsibilities are around product development and software development because we have an app dev team internally. But I also am responsible for kind of like the market direction of our products and services and how we go to market and deliver them and how we fill the void for what clients need and how they're looking for specific business outcomes. My job is to find products and solutions to fill that.
Very cool. And what about your background? Like, how did you get started in tech to begin with?
So I started doing residential PC repair, as I think a lot of folks have done
Yeah.
in this space. They've gone to school, they've worked at a Geek Squad or equivalent. I went to school for network administration. That only got me so far because that's all theory knowledge, and the experience goes a lot further. Just working through residential repairs, PC repairs, got really interested in tech in general. Went on an interview at the company called NST, which was the company prior to Sourcepass. And I lied my way through the interview to get the job. I was like, I can do this, it's not a problem. Turns out they lied about their capabilities too. So we were a match made in heaven. We both grew that business together. So really interesting kind of conversation there.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's funny. Like a lot of people, mine included, like story into tech, it often involves something like slightly nefarious or illegal. But you were on the straight and narrow, it sounds
On the
like.
straight now, yeah. Nothing illegal here.
I'm not gonna say my journey into tech live on camera at least. But that's great. Yeah, and I imagine you've been in tech for a long time, and now you're at SourcePass. So SourcePass is a more recent addition to the DNS filter partner through Pax8. And I know that SourcePass just got the Partner of the Year award a few weeks ago from Pax8, which is a pretty big deal. So tell us about like SourcePass and how you're kind of set apart from your competition.
Sure. Everyone has these value props for their business. And the value proposition is what I consider just a commodity. It's we focus on your IT so you can focus on your business. That's the general slogan for MSPs in general. What we like to do, we like to create winning propositions. And you have your value propositions, which are commoditized, and you have your winning propositions. And your winning propositions are something that's truly unique, innovative. And as you create new winning propositions, the market eventually sees what you're doing and they catch up to your winning proposition. And it's our job to innovate relentlessly to keep creating these winning propositions. So things that we do in just SourcePass in general. SourcePass is a newer MSP, really went into operations March of 2022. So we're 15, 16 months into
Wow.
this
And you
journey.
already won Partner of the Year.
One partner of the year. Yeah. So our strategy is unique. We're not VC or PE backed. Uh, we're, I'm going to quote, bootstrapping it for growth. We do a lot of acquisitions. On the last 15 months, we've done 8 acquisitions, and we have 3 more in flight right now. So we went from 0 employees, 0 revenue in February 2022 to about 535 employees, 130, 140 million in run rate revenue. So we're growing pretty quickly. And what we're seeing in the space is it's very fragmented. There's a lot of disparate systems. All the vendors are building specifically for the MSP and not building so much for the client and the client experience. We are laser focused on clients and their experience in building the best IT experience possible. If you go to our website, the slogan on the front page is to provide an IT experience that clients love. So that's where we're kind of unique. We're investing in the client, we're investing in our software, we're investing in innovating the space and kind of being industry leaders. Um, I think that's a very unique proposition for us.
So you mentioned a few things there that were piquing my interest. Um, I think first let's talk about like some business stuff, kind of the nuts and bolts. Like you said that you guys do a lot of acquisitions. It sounds like that's really your growth strategy is to acquire other MSPs, fold them into SourcePass, using bootstrap money. By the way, that's pretty impressive. Um, so What are some of the lessons that you've learned down this path of just acquisitions and folding those client bases and the employees and the staff into Sourcepass?
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are doing a similar roll-up model. I think we have a different approach here because we're not PE VC backed. They're not really dictating what we do. We have full control of Sourcepass, so we're operator owned. So you think of a bigger company, you think of like corporate overlords, a suit. You'll never catch me in a suit, right? Even if you look at how I accepted the board at Pax8, I'm in a t-shirt, right? This is just how I roll. What I say is big business is a choice, right? To lose your culture to big business is a choice. You can always keep your culture intimate, do the right thing by people, and have an impact on clients, on culture, on everyone's lifestyle. And even if you're a larger company, I think it affords us the ability to do more and give back to the community. We've recently created a SourcePass Community Impact Foundation. It's a 501c3 organization to help donate and give back to the communities that which we serve in, to clients that are nonprofits. It's just doing right by people and not being corporate.
Yeah, that's really cool. So like the roll up model that you guys have is really more about being yourselves and true to who you are, and then having that culture resonate with the acquired companies. Has that always gone so smoothly?
Our intentions are there to make things as smooth as possible. It's kind of like the dating world. You're never gonna date everybody and get along with them and marry everybody, right? You want to do your best and always put your best foot forward. That's the intentions here. It's hard to come off 100% to 100% of the folks. For me, it's personally frustrating because for me, maybe I'm overly critical of myself, but I want to make sure that I'm a pleaser, everyone's happy, everyone's taken care of. And it is very hard to do so when you have now 500 plus people.
So tell me about the strategy for these acquisitions, like geographically, because I know that you guys have some offices around the country. So are there like geos that you're really interested in, and some that you're purposely staying away from, or what's your strategy there?
There's a lot to strategy, but from a geographic perspective, we are so heavy Northeast centric right now. Our last acquisition that we had done is in Denver, Colorado. So they kind of get us west of the Mississippi, which is a big win for us. So we brought on this company called Machine Logic. The guy Dan and his team are absolutely phenomenal, and they're basically going to be the Western headquarters, and kind of be the Western expansion hub, and get us into the market that's obviously west of the Mississippi. What we also look for is there's got to be a good cultural alignment, right? Because we want to have our culture emulate through the whole business. We want to make sure that the clients are kind of a good fit. They're in verticals that we have a lot of expertise in. We are more vertical agnostic these days just because we have a pretty big portfolio. And then, yeah, it really comes down to good people, good culture, good clients, and that's what we look for a match, right? Not everyone's a perfect fit for us.
Right. You can't marry everybody.
And everybody.
So you also mentioned consolidating disparate systems, and I'm assuming that's really focused on the tech stack and some of the things around it. So, I want to talk about SourcePass's kind of preferred tech stack, how and why you built it the way it is, like what's its purpose, what's its strategy. But tell me first about these disparate systems that you're encountering. Like, are there on-prem, cloud, hybrid? Like, is there like some trends that you're seeing?
Yes. The I guess from an acquisition standpoint, we also look for kind of the same thesis around technology. It's cloud first, cloud centric. There's a lot of productivity, and when you think about security, identities, the new perimeter, it's not so much about like on-prem firewalls as it used to be back in the day. But uh, the tech stack consolidation is an important piece to us, and we don't super consolidate down to just one product and one vendor in each stack, but we have preferred. And again, we have so many industries, verticals, and different companies out there. We don't want to take a company that was using, I don't know, firewall A and replace it with our firewall because that's what we want to use. Because now there's a disruption to clients, the techs have to relearn that stack. But if we're going to push something new, it's going to be ideally what's in our preferred stack. And then if there's any pushback or any concerns, we'll go with whatever we have in our portfolio, which again is pretty big. A couple of core things like RMM, PSA, DNS filter, for example, is a core, almost non-negotiable tool that has to get ripped and replaced because those are fundamental to our business. It's how we support everybody at our core. It's how we secure everybody at our core.
Well, that was a hell of a soundbite, Ken. So let's dig into this tech stack. Like, I love that DNS filter is part of that that core offering. And so when you first said like consolidating disparate systems, I was curious about how your clients are allowed to purchase. So like, do you guys have like packages? And it sounds like you're catering, a lot to these customer needs, and there may be systems that you're inheriting that you're not going to rip and replace, but eventually you may phase something in or out. But it sounds like you're not going in there with like a sledgehammer and just ripping everything out and putting in this Sourcepass stack.
Yeah, we're definitely not ripping everything out. What we like to do, we like to take clients on as is, so long as they have, we'll call it business grade hardware. If they have a Linksys WRT54G firewall or router, we're going to make a strong recommendation to replace it ASAP. But if you have your run-of-the-mill firewall servers, we're happy to support it. It works well. We like to do lifecycle management and stick to that pretty tightly. Whether machines are coming up on age or hardware is coming up on age, or there's some vulnerabilities which can't be patched because it's not supported anymore, that goes into our lifecycle management so we can start to replace those systems. And if we look at backup products, DNS filtering products, we'd like to consolidate those down pretty quickly just for consistency and kind of scalability.
Just out of curiosity, what's your lifespan of a laptop? Is it 3 years?
We try to aim for 5, right? Because we know clients have a sensitive budget, and you can usually get about 5 years out of desktops, laptop servers.
Yeah, I was not arguing, conversating with our internal IT department about how my video editing needs an updated laptop.
You're special.
Hey, Frank. But that's really cool. So with these systems that you're inheriting, what is their stance on cybersecurity? Because that's also a lot very disparate across MSP. So tell me about what you have inherited. What have you seen? What are the trends there?
So I won't so much talk about what we've inherited. I'll talk about what I see more in the marketplace because I think that's more of a relevant thing here. What I typically find in market is a lot of people are trying to do cyber, but they're not doing it overly well because they don't understand what they don't know. And everyone has the best intentions with learning and bringing the right tools and processes to their clients. And what I like in the space is there's a lot of standalone cybersecurity companies which bolt on to an MSP. So you kind of have like your core managed services offerings, which quite frankly, most people do, and most people do them really well. But when you get into the more advanced stuff, like the advanced security stuff, where you're talking about SIM, having a SOC, doing MDR, making sure the R is kind of not just reporting, but responding to it, those are the really important things for security. And, for all the companies that I talk to a lot of companies just on a pro bono basis. Just I like to help the industry. You start to learn about the challenges they have, and it's very consistent across the board. And between all the focus groups that we run with clients and prospects, their number one concern about what keeps them up at night is security. So the security is the biggest piece, and then you layer on compliance on top of there. You have to be CMFC, is there an ITAR requirement? Someone has to be SOC because it's flowing through from a vendor. It's getting pretty complex out there.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So you guys are acquiring some MSPs, obviously getting their client base, one of the large factors in these acquisitions. But I have to assume that people are coming to Sourcepass directly without being acquired per se. Is that something that you guys have experienced too? And like, what is your how are you finding these leads, or are you, since you're acquiring so many, do you even need to go out and prospect like that?
Yeah, the acquisition growth is part of our strategy, but so is organic growth. When we think about how organic growth happens, a lot of times for smaller MSPs, it's usually the owner that's going out doing sales or a co-founder or something like that. We've started to build up a true sales team, a true sales enablement team where we have SDRs, BDRs, sales ops, and start to get new logos that way, whether that's through networking events, cold calling, strategic partnerships, or just people coming to us from the web, right? Kind of seeing post on LinkedIn and Partner of the Year award. That stuff goes a long way. And then when you can have some good, positive internet, uh,
The Google juice.
yeah, the Google juice. That's a good way to put that. Good Google juice, it does help as well. And when you have good employees who are super excited about what we do and kind of provide good service to clients, I always tell people we want to provide service so good you have no choice but to give us a reference or referral. We get a lot of logos from that as well.
Yeah, that's great. So you've got like two, well-oiled strategies going, organic and acquisition, and that's really impressive. Is there anything that stands out between those two things, that one is easier, or something like a smaller MSP could kind of implement?
I think just asking your customers for referrals are a really critical part to growth strategy. A lot of people, in my opinion, are afraid to ask for referrals because they're afraid of getting shot down or rejection. But most companies, like I said, are providing managed services and doing a really good job at it. That would be the easiest way to get referrals out there. From what's easier, acquiring a client like organically or acquiring through acquisition? Acquiring through acquisition feels easier, right? Because you have to spend money to do so. But I think something could get lost there. It's kind of like you becoming a millionaire, but you do it through working hard and kind of growing your business versus inheriting it. It's just not the same, or winning the lottery. Like you're not working towards it. We sometimes forget from an acquisition that we didn't overly work for it other than buying it, and we want to make sure that we're not taking that stuff for granted because every client is special, and I never want to lose that part of it. If that makes
Yeah, that's a
sense.
really interesting concept. It's like you had to earn the money, obviously, to be able to purchase this company, but you didn't have to go out and spend 5, 10 years, doing Google ads and social media content to get all these customers. So yeah, and you're conscious of that, and actively, forcing yourself to appreciate it, even though us humans and our lizard brains are like, oh yeah, great, got it.
Yeah, so many people forget to appreciate everything they have and appreciate how they got the stuff. It's always important to take a step back and reflect about what you've done as a business, the people around you that have helped you get there. Like for me, my role is product, but we have an amazing sales team. We have Matt McCarthy, phenomenal. Noel, Ethan, Chalk Massivos, fabulous. My CFO Matt is next level. All this stuff is possible because of the team that we built around us. Yeah, it's not just one person.
Yes, very cool. But let's talk about that one person. Just for a second, talk about you real quick. Who? Well, I think that you had a heavy hand in the cybersecurity stack for Sourcepass. Is that correct?
It is one of my babies. Yes.
Right. I believe a little birdie told me that. So, so like, and like you said earlier, you're not like, you have a preferred stack, but you're willing to work with things that are already in place. Maybe there's something that is a better fit. So you're definitely flexible. But how did you craft this tech stack that you're proud of?
Again, it's going to be a longer answer, so tell me to get off the
No,
airtime.
please go.
But from the tech stack, we've been in the space for a while, so learning about what the needs are from clients, what the flow through requirements are from their customers or their vendors, and kind of crafting a solution that works for them. We have what we call like our standard security package, which is like help desk, but we include MDR, DNS filtering in what we consider to be very core products. We find that a lot of companies out there are calling their advanced security suite. Like it includes MDR, EDR, that type of stuff. We just consider that fundamentals and we include that in our standard security. And then we have advanced security where we start to include SIM, we do vulnerability management, not just scanning. We'll do security awareness training, application whitelisting. That's where we get more advanced and where our SOC and the full capabilities really come in there. So that's kind of like the next layer that solves all those technical challenges and technical requirements as it relates to cyber. And then we have a package which gets layered on there. If clients are looking for it, we call it just compliance. Think of like CISO as a service or just advisory services where we're able to do risk assessments on pretty much any framework. Our GRC's got something like 140 frameworks loaded in there at this point. We'll do ongoing cybersecurity management, policy writing, tabletop exercises. So in my opinion, every client needs to have all three of those levels because there's either direct requirements, flow through requirements, or some governmental requirements for compliance or cybersecurity in general. But not everyone has the appetite to or the ability to afford those packages. So we try to
Yeah,
work with everyone of like, hey, do you need just the EDR piece or the MDR piece, which is why we included the services.
yeah, and it sounds like you kind of have like a an elite tier, which is like compliance. And are you meeting this framework, and can you prove it? Which is
Yeah,
really
the
what
MDR.
compliance is all about. We've got to prove it. Like you can't just be in a silo and be like, yeah, we're secure. Like you have to prove it to some third party at some point. And that's not cheap either. So it's definitely a good business to be in. I'd like to get into that a bit more, but first I want to talk about this tech stack, and I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask what drove you to DNS filter. What did we replace, and like why was that? Why is that included in your core offering?
So I'll call out some names here. I will never bash anyone. I'll just tell you some challenges we had, which is what kind of drove us to consolidate down to DNS filter. So we've had a few different DNS filtering stacks that had come through acquisition. We had Titan DNS, we've had Cisco Umbrella, and a few other ones. And the challenges could be pricing, relationship, or feature sets, like the roaming agent that is out there. So if someone's off net, the scanning capabilities are still there. For example, one of those DNS providers that we had before, their roaming agent was not very stable and worked very well. And we were getting complaints from clients about stability, websites not loading, just random outages. We were able to tie that back to the actual agent themselves. And eventually the vendor's like, yep, sorry, this is on us. We have to recode and you got to wait. And if we go back to something I mentioned earlier about client experience, right, giving an IT experience that clients love, sometimes waiting isn't on the table, even if you have the best relationship with the vendor. So it really forced our hand to go back to market and find a better products. And we landed on DNS filter. And everybody from that's on a service contract with us, they get DNS Filter Pro, which is that kind of middle tier. And if they need the enterprise features for some of the roaming capabilities, we'll tack those on. But everybody's going to get a DNS Filter product with us.
Well, that's great to hear. Um,
I'm sure it is.
yeah, right. A little bit more about cybersecurity. So you guys kind of are standout in that area, and you even mentioned that a lot of MSPs aren't doing it as well as they think, perhaps. How has cybersecurity offerings changed Sourcepass? It sounds like it's always been a part, even a core tenet of Sourcepass. And just go over that a little bit.
Yeah, well, the core tenant piece is, again, the reason that we threw in MDR and EDR into our core services, just we call it standard security. Um, there's a difference between, we'll call it infrastructure security and how you have settings set up. Like if we think about Microsoft, for example, Microsoft out of the box is the most insecure that you can have it, right? It's got all of the conditional access not set up. It's got the legacy authentication until recently turned on. What we want to do is make sure the client understands, hey, there's a difference between securing infrastructure, then monitoring, and having a cybersecurity program in place. And for us, even going back years ago, my old company NST, there was a little bit of fear talking to clients and saying, "Hey, we're actually not doing your full cybersecurity management," because it was it's still a little bit of the wild, wild west as far as cybersecurity goes, and we didn't want to upset customers. And I find a lot of people are still in that same boat where they feel like they're exposed. But at the end of the day, you're doing yourselves a disservice and the clients a disservice because you have to manage your risk and your client's risk as it relates to IT. And we come in and say, hey, yes, we've acquired a company and they were doing a good job securing your infrastructure, but what about compliance or what about a full cybersecurity program and managing of that? And for us, we're not shy going in and explaining the differences and why it's so critical to a business these days. Right? You watch the news, you go on Reddit, there's no shortage of scares out there. It's not about shock and awe for educating on this. It's true education, showing them their risks and helping them identify their risks. That's a big way to get a cybersecurity. Educate, educate, educate.
Yeah, education is key, even in like sales motions. Like this is a reality. And speaking of that, has Sourcepass ever experienced any significant attacks that were difficult to handle?
We've had a few prospects that we've taken on because they've had ransomware, they've had a significant event. We'll come in, we'll do remediation, recovery, some level of forensics. Typically, we're working in tandem with a cyber insurance company if the client or prospect happen to have cyber insurance. But uh, it's definitely a tricky situation because when you're coming in blind, not managing that account, you don't know, do they have backups? Are they validated? Do they have offsite? What are their policies? Have they, turned off all their servers and workstations because of the fear of their breach when you haven't had a ability to do forensics and do copies or images of the machine so you can do the forensics. There's a lot of unknowns in that, and everyone panics and just turns everything off because there's a breach. But where it's getting really scary now, we had ransomware and it was a ransom to recover your data, but now bad actors are exfiltrating data and blackmailing you to pay for it. And what's really interesting is we've dealt with a few, and these bad actors have amazing customer service, believe it or not. They have ethics. They don't have the ethics that you and I believe in, but they have ethics for their business model. And they'll publish on their website, hey, we're going to leak your information unless we get a payment. They'll negotiate with you, but they will also hold true to releasing that. And if you do make a payment, we've always found that they've kind of lived up to what they say they're going to do and not release that data. So they have some ethics there because now if you're paying them and they're releasing it anyway, who's going to pay them in the future? So it's a business model. It's a business model I don't
It's
agree with,
a
but it's
business
a business
model for
model.
sure.
Yeah,
Extortion, digital extortion.
extortion, business model.
Yeah,
So
I have seen some of those sites on the dark web that are like, buy, and if they don't pay, they will release it. Like they're true to
they
their
are
word, like you
they
said,
true to their word.
which is so odd. But I mean, that's how they make money. They have their reputation is not of, evil hackers. It's of, um, you know, cutthroat businessmen that will do what they say they're going to do.
And security is never perfect. Even look at the big boys. You get the Microsofts of the world, the Amazons, the Targets. They have big technology budgets, and something as little as you know, I don't know the legalities of saying this, but like just repeating what I hear on the internet, like targeting their HVAC system. Something as little as that with potentially not having a VLAN and having it kind of talk to all the other networks uh, and being vulnerable. It's a pretty simple thing to overcome.
Yep.
You can have the biggest budget in the world and still be vulnerable. It's kind of scary.
Yeah. Or like even like one of their vendors is vulnerable and they're not like in like that's actually what happened at the Target breach, I believe, on that Black Friday or whatever. An air conditioning vendor who could log into Target's some type of portal that they have for their vendors. That person got compromised. Their login credentials got compromised. The hackers logged in and then found vulnerabilities in that portal that allowed them to spread laterally, and then just sit and wait on Black Friday. So when everybody started swiping those credit cards and they were just
Yeah,
collecting all the credit card numbers. It's like genius, but terrifying.
yeah. Supply chain is such a big thing as well in this space because now think of all the agents that we're deploying as an MSP. You got RMMs, you got portals, you got filtering products, you got endpoint products. There's not one product to solve for all of it. And now you have to do your due diligence on vendors and their cybersecurity posture and, are they compliant? What is the risk that's in the contract? So this is a pet peeve of mine, right? What I will find is everyone just looks at the financials of a contract, right, with the vendor, and they don't actually read through the T's and C's or have a lawyer review them, right? There's direct damages, indirect damages, liability things. It's everyone has to look at that because it's part of risk and part of risk management.
Yeah, for sure. And that's all, what we're in the business of doing anyway, risk management. Not
Yeah,
just with cybersecurity, but also the contracts. You got to pay attention to those. So I have one last question. Someone told me that you really like racing, and that you are working on getting a car to race.
yeah. So I do like my cars. For me, my alter ego on the internet is Porsche Kens. So you can imagine I love my Porsches or Porsches. Don't yell at me, people on the internet. I call it Porsches. So I do like doing racing. I've done autocross, road racing, New York Safety Track, all those fun events. But my next thing that I'm trying to get into is Porsche Cup cars, and to get one of those cars on order, be in the program, and kind of race for Sourcepass on a Porsche Cup car team. That is my next aspiration for racing.
Awesome. Well, good luck with that. You know, DNS Filter sponsors Andretti Motorsports. I'm sure you know
Oh,
that.
I know that I'm so excited for it. So.
I've been paying attention. Do you have anything else you'd like to say about Sourcepass or about like MSPs in general? Just give some words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom. I have a lot of love and respect for this industry. You'll always see me doing my best to help out. And same thing with Sourcepass and just everything that we do for clients, for industry, for co-opetition, right? We're a big believer in it. For DNS Filter, you guys have been fantastic, fabulous. Every great word you can put out there. You guys have been such a stellar partner for us so far. Yeah, the relationship still, I would call it in its infancy, but I'm looking to the future with you guys.
Well, that's really great to hear. Now, did you use the word co-opetition?
Co-opetition.
Did you make that up? That's really good.
I probally stole it from someone.
Yeah,
I've
you're
never
like
had a
I
good
probably
thing in
heard
my
it.
life.
So I heard it somewhere.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to steal it from you. Well, that's great to hear that DNS Filter is a good partner for you guys, and that's really why I might even wanted to have this conversation with you, is to just scratch each other's backs. Basically, I think that's the words we used in our email. But I appreciate you coming on and chatting with me and letting us get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, I appreciate you for having me on here. It's been a lot of fun.